everybody. This is Brady Henderson from the First Baptist Church in Gaston, South Carolina, located in the Midlands, and we hope you are well. You are listening to the 94th episode of the Menorah Podcast, the podcast that seeks to share the light, speak the light, and send the light of Jesus Christ all across the airwaves of the internet and beyond. Allen is here with me today, as he has been on all 94 episodes of the Menorah Podcast. There are several that I'm not on from my sabbatical earlier this year, but Allen, you got a 94 episode streak. Don't know if you realize that.
So 100%.
Yep, you are 100%, and I hope you're doing well today.
Doing good.
So this is actually, just as some housekeeping for our listeners, this is the last episode of the podcast for this year. So obviously next Thursday is Christmas Day, and then the following Thursday is New Year's Day. So we are not going to have an episode for you until January the 8th. January the 8th is the next time that we will be having episode, and so just keep that in mind. We're giving you a break as our listeners, and then us a break as well. So I do know not as many folks are watching or viewing on YouTube, but I do know that we actually have a pretty good audience on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, just let us know when you see us that you're listening. We want to make sure, folks, you're still getting a lot out of this and still enjoying this, and that it's not getting stale or anything like that. So just wanted to talk a little bit today about 2025. We're getting ready right now. We're days away from 2026, and if you haven't already, we've already done episodes on the preaching plan. We've done episodes on the preaching calendar. Not to toot my own horn, but I got all that done relatively early this year. That's the quickest I've ever got the preaching plan done. Usually that doesn't roll out until at the end of December, right into January. Last year it didn't get released until January. So I thought that was definitely a positive for me to be able to kind of get that behind me. That is a big bear. And I started it in August and kept with it. And so I think I finished it right around December the 1st, released it last week, and so, or 2 weeks ago. So really excited about that. Of course, our word of the year for 2026 is advance. All that is circled around advancing the gospel, advancing the good news, advancing our building program, all of those different things that we're doing. In other words, I think we have a lot of good things going on, so let's keep it up is really the battle cry for this year. Let's advance. Let's keep going. Kind of my idea behind that word of the year is a little bit of a battlefield. And when folks were on a battlefield, soldiers were on a battlefield, and they needed to keep going, they would either say advance or charge. And if they had already made one initial charge, usually it would be followed up with the word advance. Keep going. And so we've made a lot of charges on the gates of hell in the last few years. We've seen a lot of souls saved. We've seen staff additions. We've seen some really cool stuff. And so we've had some good charges. Now let's advance on the field and let's keep going for the kingdom of God.
Yeah, when you were talking about advance, that's the first thing I thought about was a battlefield.
Yeah, it's cool. And, of course, with the preaching plan, I've already got changes on it that I need to make. I'll go ahead and make y'all kind of aware of them and talk about them so that I'm also aware of them. But I totally forgot on January the 11th, Hannah and I will be at a church in New York. So we are going to New York. The association is sending us to New York. As you guys know, we're possibly going to have a partnership with a church plant up there. And so we're also in the beginning stages of planning a missions trip up there. And so we felt it was wise that we go up there and actually see what's going to be, what that mission trip would look like. We're going at the coldest time of the year, which I'm not crazy excited about, but that's happening. And so the church that we're thinking about partnering with has asked us to see their Sunday morning worship service, which I think is only right. So we won't be here that Sunday. So as far as the preaching plan goes, I'll let you know. I got to work it all out and figure it all out. But more than likely, the first Sunday of the year is going to be when we get into 1 Corinthians. And that'll be the first sermon through verses 1 through 9, I believe. And then the 7th is actually going to be the vision casting sermon, so to speak, which is a Wednesday. And then I won't be there the 11th, and then we'll pick back up on the 18th. And so originally the 7th was going to be when we did the intro sermon in Corinthians, but we will just make that a video. So just a little bit of clarification on that. I got it that time. So the second time through. So I totally forgot about the New York trip. And then I was like, well, maybe we should come back early. But then I was like, if we're going to partner with this church, we definitely need to see what they do, right? And the best way to do that is on a Sunday. So as far as the podcast for today, I just spent 6 minutes kind of giving you some housekeeping and some things to think of. But Allen, I want to review 2025. It's been a great year. Almost 30 folks have joined the church. The majority of those have been baptisms. We're going to be baptizing again on Christmas Eve. God has done a lot of great things this year. Just a few of the highlights from 2025 that stick out in your mind when I say the year 2025.
Well, I think 2025 has been a good year for our church. It seems to me like each year gets better and better. And I think that is a reflection of the dedication, not just of you, not just of our leadership, but our congregation as a whole. They've been really faithful in participating in the projects and getting on board with things. And so I think we really have a great opportunity in 2026 to advance.
Yeah, to keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep going on the battlefield. Just a few things we'll highlight. On May the 25th, we dedicated our historical marker. So these are all things that we might have forgotten about. So that was really cool. Obviously, 2024 was the big bicentennial year, and that took a few years off of our lives as leaders, right? We did a lot with that, but we got to dedicate that. It took a while to order the sign. There's so much you have to go through with that, but a big thank you to Jim St. Clair, who never let go of that rope, constantly on it. I love Jim. I think the world of Jim. Just love how he was constantly updating us, right?
Yep.
Here's where it is. Here's what they need a comma here. They need a period, But I know a lot of folks, including myself, would probably get frustrated with that pretty easily. I know I would. And he did. And if he did, he didn't show it. So big shout out to Jim and obviously Terry and all of his work. Terry is a great historian. And Sandra too, and just all that they do and making sure that all that information was correct. And, that sign is more than likely going to outlive all of us.
Yep.
And so I thought that was a really cool moment on May the 25th.
Well, one of the cool stories about that, and you probably know this, Mike was up here one day, and he said this car pulled up on the side of the road. And they were wandering around the church, and they were preparing for something, and he said, well, I'm just out of curiosity. I'm going to go over here and see what they're looking for, why they're here. And so he goes over, and a man and his wife was visiting the area. I think he said they were from Florida, and their thing is historical markers.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever it's approved, that goes on the State Archives website.
Yep.
So they had seen that there was going to be a historical marker where it was close to their travel area, so they swung by to look at our historical marker and photograph it.
Yep.
Well, it was still in the box, laying beside the building. We hadn't gotten it up yet, but we did at least have it on the premises. And so we went over. I happened to show up, and we went over and we popped the lid on it, let them take a picture of it, and then Mike sent some of the photos that we took the morning we dedicated it. So
that's cool. A lot of people do that. On June the 5th, we had a church security training. I believe we had 14 other churches across the state who were present for that. That was a free event that we held here for church training. I remember that. On May the 20th, we released 2 new logos, the FBC Gaston Kids logo and the FBC Worship logo, which I'm repping on my sweatshirt, and you've got one of the OGs on your sweatshirt. You've got a media team from 2021. It's about time we get them some new gear, I think.
Yeah, so that was one of the first batches of of shirts that you did when you
Hmm.
got here.
Yeah, it was. It was. And of course, on May the 18th, we had graduate recognition Sunday. Our graduates that year, or this year, were Jackson Wood, Jada Johnson, Oslin Carty, Reese Spears, Chase Pound, and Bailey Spears, as well as Dr. Lee Sanford. So that was really a cool day, and I will never really live that one down because I actually preached from Ezra chapter 2, verses 1 through 70, a list of names on Graduate Recognition Sunday. I will never forget that. And Adam still gives me a hard time about it, as he should. That was, looking back on it, maybe not my brightest moment. I don't know. And then on May the 11th, we had Mother's Day, and that was really cool because I'm looking at a photo from our Mother's Day panel. I don't know if we're going to do that this year. We might wait another year and do it sparingly, or maybe even have that panel as a part of the Family Matters conference. Not sure, but that was really cool.
That really was a good. That was really good to do that.
Yeah, so we did that. And baby dedication, we had 3 Family Matters events this year. We held 3 of those all throughout the year. Of course, on April the 27th, we had our church picnic, and that was a lot of fun at Bethel Church Camp, and just, had so much fun with that. And then don't forget, on April 27th is when we really launched our Field of Dreams Giving Initiative. We released the graphic of what the building will hopefully look like one day. We talked about it. Of course, we started encouraging the congregation to give every week. So that was really cool. We ordained 2 deacons in September. Of course, that was done. Had a big baptism day on Easter Sunday, April the 20th. That was a great day as well. And then we had our children who gave, the children's choir, gave the Easter, not cantata, but Christmas musical on April the 10th, and that was a really awesome time where that happened. Just a lot of great things, really. God did so many things. We did our Holy Week videos, and
Yeah.
those are always, and don't worry, I'm already thinking about those. And
I was just fixing to say it's about time to start thinking about them.
It's about time to start thinking about that. I celebrated my 4 years here. I'm just scrolling through. If you ever want to know what has happened in the year, all you got to do is go back and scroll on our Facebook page. You can find so many things. We had our Valentine banquet on February the 15th with Alan Bagwell. That was a great time. Of course, all of our men's meetings, we had many of those. We relaunched the men's ministry in July, so that happened with ministry teams. I know ministry teams right now are working on the fruit baskets and all those different things, and so just a lot of great things. And we've got Family Matters coming up again, and so that word advance just keeps coming to me. I'm looking at a photo from January the 13th of your handsome self sporting the Family Matters sweatshirt.
Sure. Yep.
Those were quite the hit. I see those all the time of people wearing those, especially when it gets cold. It's quite warm. So we had quite the year. Anything else that sticks out to you?
Well, we did have quite the year, and I think that a number of those programs are very important. And I really can't say enough about the Family Matters and what a difference I think it makes. Um, I was really blown away by what I heard. I've participated in both versions, 1.0 and 2.0, and so that information is really valuable. I feel like for uh, new parents or newly married folks that are just beginning to think about starting families and really becoming adults and transitioning from having been cared for to self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many other things that has gone on in the life of our church, and the benchmarks. Truly, our building is probably a high point of our 2025, and
Yeah.
the importance and the potential we see within that.
Well, and I think, in that vision sermon that I will give on January the 7th, you'll hear that illustration of the battlefield again. I'm really thinking about showing a clip. So go ahead and get this in your mind as the media director. But a clip from the movie The Patriot. And so that's one of my favorite movies. I mean, I'm a history guy, so I guess that would just make sense. And I love that movie, but at the end, they start, getting up on the British flank. And so they go over this hill, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to cower. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is General Cornwallis. This is, we can't do this. And there's several individuals, of course, Mel Gibson, who portrays Francis Marion. Really, there's three people that he's trying to embody in that movie: Thomas Sumter and Andrew Pinckney and Francis Marion. But everybody pulls out Francis Marion. But there's some Thomas Sumter and Pinckney in there too. And he grabs the American flag and he's like, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. And I think we're at an interesting, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. Our attendance is still really good, is still really strong, but we have lost some folks. And what I mean by losing folks is, as far as I know, they didn't leave because of X, Y, and Z. They just dropped out and distractions and just got out of the habit. And I think for anybody that's listening, it's really important to remember that one missed Sunday can turn into 4 before you know it.
Yep.
And then 4 can turn into 40, and it just builds upon. And so as the pastor, I feel I'm not calling myself Francis Marion. I'm not near as talented as that individual was. But what I mean is, like, we got to rally the troops. We have a battle that we need to win, and we have a building that we need to build. So let's go. Let's charge this mountain. Let's charge the pit of hell, and let's go. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that, and where I'm feeling with that. And I'm super excited. I mean, we can look behind us all we want at the last 5 years and look at all the battles we've won, but we need to look ahead and be like, okay, we really got to keep going.
Yeah, it's
the job's not done.
That's right, and we have to. I appreciate your excitement, and I think that you are a good leader in that area, and that is a good talent for a leader to have, is to be excited about the direction he sees us going in, and we need to constantly keep our eyes on where God's leading us, and act when he says act. We sometimes we get impatient, sometimes we are hesitant, but we all know that God's timing is much better than our own. I'm over 60 years old, and still to this day, sometimes it's hard for me to relinquish control over to God and know that he's going to take care of this, and I just need to trust him. And it's really hard. I guess that's our human nature, not being able to really operate in the spiritual realm, and only having our human frame of mind to operate in.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I'm excited. Of course, we're going to spend a lot of time in Corinthians, so buckle up. Next 2 years will be in 1st and 2nd Corinthians. So thank you guys so much for your support all year long. Please don't stop listening to the Menorah Podcast. We value you. We appreciate you. If you ever have any topics that you want us to tackle, we are wide open. We haven't planned anything for 2026. So if you have any ideas, maybe some things you would like us to discuss, please email me at pastorfirstbaptistgaston@gmail.com. I would love to be able to entertain those ideas and kind of talk about some of those things.
Well, I would like to reserve a pretty early January episode for a report on your trip to New York. What y'all find out up there. I'm really curious about that. So.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. The associations have been great in that they're paying for it until we can decide what we want to do as far as our financial commitment as a church. And so super excited about it, and can't wait.
All righty.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening to episode 94. We will have episode 95 for you on January the 8th. And so hope everybody has a great day. We'll see you hopefully this Sunday.
Yep, have a Merry Christmas, guys, and be safe out there.
And a Happy New Year.